What will it take to have a general labor revolution in America? Imagine if all the Americans in this sub organized their workplaces to go on strike in the same day. Imagine the change we could make. The unrest is there. Everyone has been pushed to their limits. Labor is broken in the US and the workers should be leading the conversation, not the corporations. With the internet, it should be easier than ever to organize. We would definitely need a fund for striking workers. But aside from that, what challenges do you foresee? What's the best way to organize this kind of thing? Could it even work? I'm almost broke but would help a friend with food or shelter to strike. It's hard to get people to break their chains when most people will either deny that they're in chains or are content with being chained. Before you could even think about having a successful general strike, you need to convince the people that they need one. A general strike is already happening and people keep asking, when are we gonna strike? There will never be a mass walkout in America. It's too big. But look around. There are strikes happening everywhere and workers standing up for their rights all over the place. Join the fight. It would take conservatives actually caring about worker rights again rather than being proud of slaving to billionaires. The absolute rejection of mainstream media by at least the majority of the working class. Historically, 100+ people killed in a fire, or jumping out windows to escape a fire. As mentioned already, the people here are content in their chains. Change is hard. The details behind why that is are debatable. I'd suggest looking into migration to another nation if you want to be surrounded by people who care more about labor laws and work-life balance. The majority of people are content enough with the current work system as to not want to expose themselves to an uncomfortable situation like doing that would put them in. Myself, for example, I make enough money to pay my bills and save some money. Sure, I don't exactly feel like I'm being paid fairly, or that I have enough personal time. But I wouldn't want to go run off and sacrifice that situation to be in an even worse situation for a glimmer of a chance to make an improvement. Revolutions are started when the majority feel like the situation has gotten so bad they can't see a livable future. I could never do it. If I miss a single day of work, I will be out on the street. Just keep unionizing. I think everyone agrees, but nobody is offering solutions. Yeeting the ruling class on a SpaceX rocket to the sun. We need to get on the same page and stop fighting with each other over shit they want us to fight about instead of this shit. Class consciousness or race consciousness? You get the guess which is more likely. Probably only poor people would do this. Those of us with good paying jobs probably wouldn't risk it because the chances of you achieving anything by doing this is low. It's not worth the risk. I mean, last time was a threat of revolution akin to the USSR, which had only been about a decade old at the time, and pressure from socialists, communists, and unions. There's a reason each of these groups were systematically dismantled during the Red Scare that continues to this day. It will take most common people to be homeless and not having enough food to feed themselves. Add to that the wealthier sector also getting into the same position. Once that happens, and it apparently will soon enough, people will take to the street like France and we will have the class warfare the rich have been fearful of for the last 50+ years. But it will take that and more before people will pick up the pitchforks. It won't. Keyboard warriors never do much. Call for a general strike. Call for a general protests. Those are a dime a dozen on Reddit. And clearly not everyone is pushed to the limit. The top 10, heck 20 are just doing fine and enjoying life. The next 30-40 are working hard dreaming to become the 10. Sure, Some at the bottom are pushed hard, but they are busy surviving and don't have time to revote. Man, these threads never fail to expose the shills on this subreddit. I'm not on any side cause if labor reform happens. Great, if it doesn't happen then that's fine I guess. Keep at it. You either get what you want and then become the people that talks down to the new group of PPL wanting reform, or you are just set. Nothing else to complain about. How many would really be good with that and then just chill? There's so much bullshit going on globally. It fucking sucks. Perhaps the threat of AI replacing human labor will spark a labor revolution. Or as novelist Frank Herbert coined it, a Butlerian jihad. Sadly, most workers would rather just complain than actually do anything constructive, like organize a union. I wish nurse aides would go on strike. It's a very low-paid occupation. Many of them seem brainwashed that the people need me in the facilities they work in. We cannot strike without being in a union. We need to continue to build those relationships. An old union man told me, if you want to fight for labor rights, you have to be willing to lose everything. When enough people are in that condition, then you'll see change. The next generations are being dumbed down as well with TikTok babies. Mass teacher-student fighting now in schools and mass social media addiction. It might not ever change if millennial Gen XZ do nothing. I agree, do it now in all sectors. Airlines, trucking, healthcare, all this economy to a halt for 5. How fast negotiations happen, new bills get written. Sick of the BS. We need a vanguard party to look out for workers' interests. Getting fired? They could help. Arrested during protests? VP would have lawyers. Without an organized political effort, events like these strikes and Occupy tend to be flash in the pan. Glad to see folks asking this question. I know I am not the only one that has been thinking about this. Union. The unions need smart people to counter the management, lawyers and reps. Let a union. Make it happen. Truth? A lot. But the first thing is to understand that this is not a zero-sum game. Meritocracy is horseshit. Landlords would need to lower housing costs. Businesses would need to lower prices. Companies need to cease looking at share values as the primary measure of success. And your unrest cannot be up against the law with a gun. Basically, everyone that barely has enough crumbs to survive needs to be willing to give up those crumbs for hope. Those eating A5 Wagyu must be willing to do the same. And those with crumbs desiring to eat the Wagyu have to stop staunchly defending them. Many people actually like their job and are happy with their pay and their benefits. Lol. I also would bet those people chose to be productive and actually put in effort to get those jobs. You don't even know what you are griping about. You list zero arguments or substance. You just don't like working and it's showing. The only people you are going to organize are your peers, who are in the same position you are in. You want what others have. You just don't want to do what's necessary to attain it. People may discover that the good or service provided by the striker is actually not needed, or is replaceable by a good or service who doesn't have a penchant for striking. Kind of like that actors' strike. I honestly had no idea it was still a thing until a few weeks ago. Or like the current Detroit-based car manufacturers' strike. If I need a new car in the interim, I'll just buy from a non-unionized southern manufacturer like Toyota and go on with my day. First you have to get a job. Bravery. Not a quality Americans possess. Nothing will ever make that happen in the US short of absolute federal breakdown. It's a pipe dream in the land of Big Macs. You won't. It's going to need to be much worse than it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm ready, but the majority is not.